Hello and welcome everybody. Give me a second. I'm just going to check the audio again. This is a continuation from the previous broadcast, which was interrupted quite curiously. Let me just make sure that everything is fine this time. So just give me a moment. Okay, I'm almost there. Quite curiously. Okay, yes, that looks good. So what happened earlier is that I was knocked off the internet, and then the internet seemed to have been knocked out for the entire day, and it could very well have been the workmen switching off the fiber optics because they could be working on that. Who knows? Either way, I didn't have any internet throughout the entire day, which really puts, an extra burden on me, but it's also not surprising. I kind of expected everything to come down on me. Now, another thing that came down on me were miscellaneous threats, okay, and I would like to mention them because it's quite curious. But before I do so, I would like to finish off my explanation of how to get there tomorrow, because I was cut off exactly when I wanted to get the most crucial information across to you. So this is the Royal Courts of Justice down here, okay? And as I said many times, there is a boundary dragon exactly here. So this part seems to be already in the City of London, whereas this main building is maybe outside. Who knows, maybe that's still in the City of London. And this little building here on the side, let me just zoom in, that's where you have to go, okay? So I hope this is big enough for you to see. Let me just collapse this. So the entrance is here. You go up the steps, you go through a set of wooden doors with glass panels, you go through the metal detectors, and then you go to the information desk, which is about here. And if they don't know where my court case is, you can look at listing boards behind the information desk. Now, what it should be is, it should be court 37, which is over here, okay? This building here, that's court 37 over there. And the way to get there is that after you went past the metal detectors and the information desk, you keep going all the way to the back until you end up here when you can't walk any further. Okay, so it's somewhere here. And then when you're inside, you will see a restaurant over here. So there's a way to get drinks and refreshments. But when you hit the wall or the cafe, you take a left and you come through two sets of doors, and then you're in this yard. And once you're in this yard, there's a set of steps exactly there. You go down the set of steps, don't go inside, you go along this walkway, and then here there's typically a sign that you can go in to court 37, and this is where you should be. So this is the waiting hall here, okay? And the court we're talking about is the one at the back. It's this one. This is court 37. This is where all my previous 3 hearings were taking place. Now, I have been contacted now by 2 people saying, oh, someone, and it's never said who it is, but someone went to the listing, the Queen's Bench Division listing, or maybe just the listing board, and said, oh, your case isn't listed. Well, tell me what's new, because my case wasn't listed 3 times in a row already 3 years ago, okay? So they screwed it up, but not just that. There was also a court case of Philip Kerr versus MI5, which was taking place all the way across here, deep in the City of London, right? Over here in the Rolls building. Is this the Rolls building? Yeah, I think this is the Rolls building here. And so this is deep in the City of London, so it's actually extraterritorial. And there, the case was listed, but instead of font 92, saying so-and-so versus so-and-so, it was, I kid you not, font 10. And they put up a piece of paper, and they didn't put it on the door. They put it sideways so that it looked like just some, random notice by the cleaner. And there it said in tiny font, Philip Kerr versus MI5. So that's the sort of listing he got. I'm not making this shit up. I even complained to the IPT about that in writing, and I even complained about that to Private Eye. But that was back then when I didn't know that Private Eye was actually probably mostly Intel people, right? And cartel people, which is what I suspect it is now. But anyway, so there is a written record of that. right? Typical things that the cartel does. Either way, and then should anything happen, you can, you know, make your frustration be felt about the fact that the case wasn't listed. So, you know, whatever happens, I think the best bet is to go through the end, out here, through the courtyard, down there, and then into this hallway. And you have to wait in this big open space. And eventually, when we are called, we can go into this court building, okay? So this is what I wanted to say. Now, I would like to show you the threats I got. And I have to say that I have received threats from this email address quite a few times. It turns out that apparently it's a legal firm in London, okay, sending weird threats. I mean, it's probably a front, right? It's an MI6 front organization. But man, the batshit craziness is like something you have to see to believe, okay? So let me share my screen. This just came through. And I've just seen it when the internet came back on. So this is the email I just got, okay? And you can see it's the 11th of December, 1338 here. So that the internet was already off by that time. And the email reads, Dr. Catherine Horton, Royal Courts of Justice, Court 37. Hey, so apparently it is listed because somebody knows where it is. QB, so Queen's Bench Division, 12th December 2019. You know, as far as listings go, I think this is one we just got. And it's by some Lord Queer Argent. Now, Argent is money, okay? Money in French. So it's really Lord Queer money, as in fiat currency. Okay, so Lord Fiat Currency, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to email back, is sending an email to J, let me blow this up so that you can see it with your own eyes, because you won't believe this, I don't think. So it sent, oops, this is frozen again. Is it gonna freeze and throw me out, you know, in a huff? But this is being sent to JAG, Admiralty and Maritime Law, Code 11, US Navy, which is Admiralty at Navy.military. Dr. Catherine Horton, right? And then the Right Honorable Penny Mordaunt, MP, Correspondence Unit, dfid.gov.uk, whatever the hell that is, and Her Majesty Queen Margaret II in Denmark. Okay, and then the Court of Record Secretary at Court of Record. Okay, now this thing seems to have crashed, so I can't. I have to share it again. It's not surprising to read. Okay, now it's working again. So it says, Court of Record, Monday, December 11th at 12:38 GMT. Dear Sir, Catherine Horton's short report of today at, and this is the brief hacked or, you know, aborted broadcast, describes in detail the location of her court case, Dr. Catherine Horton versus, and look how V versus has been capitalized, right? Remember the Templar V? So could be cartel signaling or just a typo. But Dr. Catherine Horton versus SIS, which is MI6, MI5, and GCHQ, for those who wish to attend and support her. She reports how she continues to be attacked and harassed with electromagnetic energy weapons, etc., while preparing for the case in her London hotel room today. That's so fucking true. And they really ramped up during the time that I didn't have internet. It is my wish before, is this Yahweh or whatever, you know, that all judges at the High Court on 12th December 2019, whether or not involved in this case, shall be forthwith be run through with a javelin up the arse and cremated. Yours faithfully, Lord Queer Argent Plaintiff. Like, what the F to make of this? But this is not the first time I get these messages. There was one in November the 9th, right? Which was pretty much, you know, quoting another court case and then the same thing. Now, why? Again, it was sent to the US Navy. It was sent to the Court of Record. And I think actually this one wasn't sent to Queen Margaret, if this is Queen Margaret, you know, the second, you know, behind this email address. But this looks like Könighaus. So, you know, the royal household could be, right? But what the hell to make with this email, right? What the hell to do with this email? Because Lord Queer Money sounds like somebody who's involved in fiat currency. Banking cartel guy. right? The US Navy, Admiralty, right? This is the Crown Corporation's conquest arm. Then you have an MP somewhere, you know, in some weird division. And then you've got, you know, the Queen of Denmark. So yeah, what to do with this? Well, I, on the other hand, don't wish for any harm to come to these judges, right? What I really wish is that they act to uphold, it's the royal courts of justice, not the royal courts of law at the end of the day, right? But what we really need is that we go back to sanity, okay? Now, because a royal household is involved, I would like to say a couple of more words about the, you know, what's the deal with the royal households and what is their role in all this. Now, I know what the determined fate of the royal household is in all this, regardless of what the Vatican crime cartel might tell them. The actual fate that is drawn up for the European royal families is one of asset stripping and destruction. Okay, and the reason why this is the case is because all the countries around the world have already. So the Crown Corporation, the system outlives absolutely all its top members even. It is the system that continues. It's like having an articulated lorry that continues on its path. If you are in this, behind the steering wheel, you might steer it for some time, but if you're knocked off your pedestal, somebody else steers it, the lorry continues and you die. Okay, so this is the Crown Corporation model. And what happened to the Russian Tsar was exactly this, being knocked off the steering wheel by the system. It's one that wants to enrich itself. The reason why it has to enrich itself and continually do conquest is because the model that they're running is that of the snake that bites its own tail, right? Now, actually, in this, somewhere I downloaded an image that actually shows what the model I'm following, okay? Yes. So here it is. Actually, I found it. So let me show you the old model and let me show you the new model, because this is pretty much going to the heart all this, right? And this is why I'm saying what I, okay, it's not just about saving humanity. What I'm working on is indirectly also saving the royal households, not because I'm a monarchist, but because I am working on producing the best outcome overall, okay? Remember how I gave this talk about the Carnot efficiency and how you have to track the Carnot efficiency? Now, this is what I'm doing. Now, it's not tracking the Carnot efficiency if you just go around killing the royal families. It's also not tracking the Carnot efficiency if the royal families gang up with the crime cartel to genocide their own people. In fact, that is the most fucking stupid thing that they could possibly do. Why? Because they would be weakening themselves. I mean, look at what China does, right? The cartel resettled to China and China got rid of its one-child policy. Why? Because the more people you have, the more powerful you are. The more geniuses you have, the more powerful you are overall as a system, as a country. If you start genociding all and sundry, you're gonna be fucked by the Crown Corporation. Just, you know, simple as, okay? So if we all globally want to get to a new system that is better than what went before, you have to really use systems analysis principles and work it out from bottom up, right? Now, when I say new system, I do not mean the New World Order, because the New World Order is pretty much the old articulated lorry with the driver knocked off and somebody else taking over, okay? That is not really a New World Order. It is an old world order repackaged, okay? It's a bit like when Nestle, you know, melts down their Christmas Santa Claus chocolate thingies and turns them into Easter bunnies. It's the same chocolate, it's just in a different shape. Okay, if you want a fundamentally new system, you really need to have the brains and you really need to do something fundamentally different. Now, to explain to you the old system, okay, I mean, in that sense, I'm not, you know, I'm not the New World Order, I'm the post-New World Order. That's where all the cool kids are, you know? So let me explain what exactly I mean. So for that, let me go back to the French Revolution. And this is important for tomorrow in case you're wondering what the hell I'm on about. And it's about the rights of man in the French Revolution. Now, on the Wikipedia page of the rights of man for the French Revolution, let me just share my screen because this is important to you wherever you are. Where's this thing gone now? Oof. Oh, show all windows. Sorry, give me a second. Yes, here. Now, this is the Wikipedia page, Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, right? This was, despite what you might have learned at school, this was the Vatican crime cartel asset stripping the French king, right? I mean, the French king went first, then came the Russian king, and now they want to get rid of all the other kings in one big wash cycle. Now, after they deposed the king, they came up with this thing and they said, oh, this is really good and it's for the people and bloody, 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 blah, right? Now, you're all far too experienced to buy that bullshit. And what you actually have to say is, hang on a second, there was a genocide. That doesn't sound so good. If you read the historical accounts about the French Revolution, people were being guillotined in the street en masse. Okay, sounds like satanic ritual sacrifice, strikingly enough. So that's exactly what it was. And it was, in fact, the good old Vatican crime cartel at work there. When they issued the rights of man and of the citizen, this is the design they came up with. The most striking thing is the all-seeing eye at the top. The Vatican crime cartel, right, with the Holy Trinity shining out of its rear side, right there. The angel is even pointing, in case you are dumb, it says, look, them did this, okay? Those guys, and she's told the scepter of power, and it's on the right-hand side because most people are right-handed and have been right-handed in the 18th century as well. Okay, so they would look there first. So the big message to understand is the all-seeing eye, the Vatican crime cartel did this, but then you follow the finger and you read all this, but what you should see is these Roman, what are they called? I never know how to pronounce this thing. Fasci, like what the word fascist originates from, whatever. This Roman thingamabob, okay, with these sticks tied together and with this lance head, okay, is a Roman image of power, okay? If you look carefully, I think the US Congress has these as well in the back. Why? Because they go back to the Vatican crime cartel and this whole Roman Empire thing, okay? Now, the other thing that you see is, okay, this like green stuff that's striking you looks like a, you know, like a snake. Some and what does that mean? When you are at the peak, you will be eaten, and then you go down and you come up, and then you will be eaten again. So the French king, remember the Sun King, he was fucking rich, ripe for picking. At the peak, the Vatican crime cartel struck like a snake and ate the French king. And then it all goes to shit, and then they become really rich again, and the cycle repeats. Okay, that is the old model. Okay, and it's really destructive, and it is the equivalent of really splashing around in your own excrement, because you never get any further. You do the same old shit, splashity, splashity, splash, and you do that for millennia. As far as systems go, it has room for improvement, okay? Now, the New World Order is the head of the snake talking to the tail of the snake, being the old world order. But it's still just stuck there. The snake ain't going anywhere, right? So fuck the New World Order. It is just branding. It is just fancy packaging, and it's the same old product. So what does the post-New World Order look like? Which is what's really profitable. And this is why all the cool kids are in the post-New World Order. It looks like this, okay? It's the Vatican snake, but instead of eating its own tail and going around in circles, it goes up. And it takes every step of the challenge bit by bit, and then it drags, you know, its tail after itself. But overall, the entire snake is going up. The head's going up, and even the tail is going up to pretty much the same height just a bit later. But overall, this snake is going somewhere. And it leaves a false New World Order, and that's the shit I'm working on. If you're still stuck in the New World Order, right, you didn't get the memo. And the memo, ladies and gentlemen, is something rather sophisticated, and it's the power transition model. Okay, the power transition model. And if you are a banking crime family, of your royal family, the power transition model might sound scary, but it isn't. It is actually the path to more wealth than you ever thought was possible. Okay, so what the power transition model says is that power gets taken away from these crime centers, which by their nature form a super monopoly run by freaking psychopaths, and the entire thing kind of gets decentralized. Okay, now when it's decentralized, it can still be run by fucking psychopaths, but it needn't be. And second of all, there are more independent psychopaths to keep the others in check, so the whole thing doesn't end up too crazy. You know, either way, there is some creative tension, and bit by bit, the snake is going up, right? Instead of just going around in circles. Now, this entire old world order and new world order shenazzle actually created such a loss of progress and wealth. It is just astounding. Take, for example, these fancy energy technologies or fancy any technologies, right? At the moment, it's kept by a very small circle, which is, you know, the small circle is right at the top, and it is not just a circle, it's a ring, it's a pedophile ring, okay? So all this wealth is kept by a satanic, human sacrificing, kitty fucking, murderous ring. What do you think they're gonna do with new technology? Are they gonna add, you know, Shazam to it, or are they gonna use it to fucking kill? Well, if you don't know the answer, you can look at, you know, data. Wow, that's so special, right? Now, when you have a decentralized system and this information spreads around freely, you have an acceleration, okay? It gives you propulsion up towards progress, right? Away from kitty fucking and, you know, guys shoving their dicks in orifices to actual real progress, okay? Now, this sounds simple, but when an entire system has to migrate from plan A to plan B, it's a big deal, okay? Now, my job, as I see it, is to explain as clearly as possible what we're doing and why we really need to get onto plan B, because plan A, frankly, is shit, okay? The New World Order, this mega corporation of the Crown Corporation, seemed to be really successful, but it created a huge corporate loss. Okay, as a corporation, it is underperforming like fuck. Okay, just look at the management. Not that clever, are they? Right? So a different model. Okay, and going to the different model might be scary at first, but it, you know, just like any company reorg, it is actually a really good thing. And at the end of it, everybody will be happy. Okay, so this is what we're doing. So having the court of record wishing, you know, this and that on judges isn't really helpful, and it is still the old world order pretending to be the new world order. That's what it sounds like to me, though I don't really know who sends these emails. But, you know, that's what it sounds like. So the problem with that is I can see where you guys are coming from, and I can see that you're doing your same old corporation things, which is threaten and do this and do that, right? But at the end of the day, it's just same old, same old. I mean, look at the threat, right? It's again, anal penetration. Doesn't that sound like, you know, the top of the pyramid, which systems analysis tells us will be mostly male, and then, you know, homosexual men who are psychopathic will be out competing all the other psychopaths because they will just, you know, form cliques closely bonded, closely bonded cliques, right? And that's what they do. They kind of like, screw people up the rear hole. I mean, whoa, wow. So the entire threat is just so 1990s, okay? So we have to take this and we have to somehow migrate to the new model. Now, I have no idea how to do that and how to get it across to these people. I hope they watch my videos. They seem to, but what we're doing is a company reorg to a happier company, okay? So all the cool kids should be with me, right? Should be on this case. And the way we get to a cooler model is we have to go through this cycle of restoring law and order, because law and order gets us back to the Carnot efficiency. And every engine that is driving with the Carnot efficiency is the most efficient engine that exists. Okay? So I'm not going to go through the thermodynamics and the systems analysis of the Carnot efficiency. What I'm going to say is that it is the most efficient cycle for any system. And it doesn't matter what system, if it's a financial system, okay? Now, the rule of law in complex human systems is a method of ensuring that the system always comes back to the Carnot efficiency. So by wishing, evil stuff on judges, you just betray, you haven't understood what this is about, right? You are saying, oh, I wish we would just wander off into inefficiency and stay shit forever. That's what you're saying, okay? Doesn't seem like it, but at the end of the day, that's what it will result in. Now, the new way of thinking, which takes some, getting used to for these people, but in the end will come quite naturally, is to say, actually, you know what? We want judges who will be absolutely ruthlessly just and help us get back to maximum efficiency as quickly as possible. Why? Because any country that gets back to the Carnot efficiency the quickest will outcompete all the others, okay? It will form an environment where good people, and remember, it's good people who are working their ass off typically, right? Because the good people continue working while the bad people wander off to fuck their whores and snort cocaine. So there's a huge efficiency gain by creating a system that's good for good people instead of creating a system that's good for kind of shit people, So that's what we're working on. Now, this is why I don't care who the hell you are, if you're, the king of ding dong or the lord of the fired, banking fraud. It doesn't matter, because I know as a physicist that the most efficient, most, wealth generating and coolest system is the one that follows the Carnot efficiency, okay? It's like trying to argue with Galileo about gravity. Okay, you might disagree about gravity or whatever, right? But eventually, if you want to reach for the stars, you have to incorporate this, right? You can't, sorry, it's the solar system. I'm talking, Newton. Now you can argue with Sir Isaac Newton about, the actual, how do the forces work and so on. But if you screw it up, these forces will just hit you in the face, right? Now, what I mean with hit you in the face is not my threat, because I clearly can't hit anybody in the face, right? But what it is the system moving by itself, okay? Now, this gets a bit technical, but it's still accurate, or precise rather. So the system moving is this power transition model, okay? The power transition. Now, the key to realize is that when you're talking systems analysis, the theory or the model doesn't make your future. The theory and the model predict your future, and your future will be generated by the system itself. So when the model predicts that there will be a power transition, it doesn't help you kill the mathematician who came up with this, which I think was John Nash, right? It doesn't help you, because the system will still move that way. Do you understand? And the system is far too big for you to do anything about it, right? Okay, it is because of the mathematics inherent in the system that the system will change and that this power transition comes about, right? So, okay, have we understood this? The system itself is moving, and what I'm working on is generating the most wealth for absolutely everybody. Okay, if you disagree with this, you are a moron. All right, so please get the memo and please get behind me because I'm going somewhere, right? If you're stuck in your old ways, you ain't going nowhere. All right, and just be glad that you can trundle along in my wake and I will do all the work for you. But what I could really do with is that everybody now gets in and ensures that the judges can help us get back to the carnal cycle so that Britain can start generating its own wealth instead of stealing everybody else's, right? And I actually do believe that Britain can generate its own wealth. I also have a good idea how, but we need to get there. At the moment, what we have is I have a bunch of howling MI6 retard morons next door gunning me to shits. Now, that is as inefficient as inefficiency ever goes, right? So we're trying to get out of shitness to coolness. If you want to get stuck in shitness, I'm very sorry for you, but remember, you don't need to. You can just leave your gripes by the side and just join the cool kids, okay? So this is what we're doing. Now, I would like to give you a bit more evidence about what I'm talking about. And I started off by saying that especially for the royal households, the Queen of Denmark, the Queen of the Netherlands, the Queen of England, and the kings of what's it, right? It is particularly important to get back to the carnal efficiency as quickly as possible. Why? Because the cartel actually wants to kill them, okay? Or at least asset strip them. But I think some people would have to die for this to just go, right? Now, the crime cartel operates through the Jesuits, as in Vatican Intel. Vatican Intel these days is called our intelligence agencies. Now, our intelligence agencies run the media. So if you want to look at the advertising and so on, right, the propaganda, the brainwash, and they also run other stuff, but that's where to look for information. Now, if you want to look for evidence of this, right, I have one thing I would like to show you. Okay, let me just bring it up in the background. This is another bit of evidence, pretty much like the one with the Royal Ascot advert. Once you know how to read this, it will be clear as day. So let's see. And this is now my exhibit, 2 to show you what's going on. I'm pointing you to this TV series that started in 2016. Remember how the first Royal Ascot advert was in 2016 and the second in 2017, announcing the asset stripping of the royal household. And at the same time, they had something called the Windsors. Now, here it's described as, let me just blow it up so that everybody can read it, a comedy soap opera reimagining the lives of the British royal family as you have never seen them before. Sounds innocuous and funny enough, but when you actually follow these episodes, right, it's nothing to be laughed at if you understand what direction this is going into. So here you can see the House of Windsor, and then you can see this is Prince William, this is Camilla, this is Prince Charles, this is Harry, and this is Pippa, okay? Now, when you watch these series, what will become clear is that, first of all, right, starting here from the right, William is an idiot in the series, right? His brother Harry is an even bigger idiot, and their father is an idiot who's mostly hapless and very harmless, okay? Now, Camilla is a total, murderous bitch, and Pippa and her sister Kate are both gypsies. Do you think this is in any way respectful? Now, I'm not saying, oh, you have to be, obsequious to the royal household. No. I'm just saying there's a family out there. Let's, for right now, let's just put aside who they are. But there's a family, And then you bring out this about a real life family that has their own family life and their own dignity and their own self-respect. Would that be okay to make a series like that about any other family? I mean, would you like it if, you know, MI7 made a TV series about you and your batshit crazy family, you know, calling you an idiot repeatedly, and this series goes on and on and on and on, right? I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, here's 3 seasons, okay? 3 seasons, still going. It went over the years 2016, 17, 18, and 19. This is not a small thing. This is MI7 or Vatican Intel brainwash to convince the British population that the Windsors are a family who are completely moronic or evil and they should be laughed at. Right? But also note that the ire is hitting not the old guard, but the new guard, right? Prince Charles and his sons, right? Now, this is a problem. Okay. Because I know exactly what time, okay, to annihilate all the royal households. And this is one way to do it. Now, the reason why this is it is because you would, you know, by the methods of MI7, prime people to think that the Windsor family is just idiots. They are a laughing stock. And it's very insidious, okay? When this thing was first made, I mean, I can imagine that even the Windsors themselves might have, you know, watched it and thought it's funny. But it's not funny at all. This is deadly serious, okay? This is deadly serious because of the timing and because of what the crime cartel's trying to pull off, okay? So I watched the entire series and okay, there are some silly jokes, but I thought this isn't funny at all. This is horrifying, okay? And I mean, my personal view is that because they are still a family, okay, every family has a right to privacy and every human being has a right to their own dignity. So this is a defamation campaign so severe that not even I experienced something like that, right? And you know, I had my share of defamation campaigns, right? Now, I don't agree with this at all. If MI7 wants to, you know, poke fun at people, you know, use criminals, right? There are real established criminals out there, right? You could poke fun at banking crime families, right? Or the Vatican that's richly sacrificing, you know, children every single time they have to seal a deal. Now, those are the people you really should start thinking, actually, aren't they a laughing stock? But instead, they pick the royal households. Now, of course, right, the English royal family is stonkingly rich, but I don't think they actually own their wealth. I think they hold their wealth in trust for the Crown Corporation. I think if, you know, they wanted to just sell the lot, the Vatican would come knocking and say, no, you can't. Right? Similarly, remember what I said about Epstein. Epstein isn't a billionaire. Epstein is a trustee of Crown Corporation wealth, right? He can live in the swanky mansions as long as he does what the Vatican crime cartel wants him to do. Okay, that's how I see it. Now, this TV series, The Windsors, when you think about it and when you really understand how powerful MI7's brainwash has become, is really a declaration of war against the royal family, which is something to take in because most people think that it is Her Majesty's Secret Service. No, it frickin' isn't. It's the Crown Corporation Secret Service, okay? And this shows exactly that, okay? Now, there's other evidence. There's, for example, this is, I'm not sure if I can pull it up fast enough, but it's it comes from the, you know, and you always have to look in the flashy places, okay? One very, very flashy place was the Sherlock series. So Sherlock, the BBC series, let's see. I'm just going to try to pull up a reference and you can watch it yourself eventually. Let me pull up some images. Okay, yes, this is it. Now, if you go to the Sherlock series, this is Sherlock Holmes in the modern day, right, with Cumberbatch. What you will see is there's one episode, okay, where Moriarty, in his newest incarnation, right, gets hold of the crown jewels. And he breaks in, and then he sits on the throne, right, and puts the crown on his head. But Moriarty represents organized crime. Okay, so what this actually says is that organized crime will get hold of the crown jewels. Okay, and again, I think this came out in 2016, right? I mean, this article is from 2016, so it's I have to check when this episode came out exactly, but this is another thing. And when you watch the entire episode and you see how he takes control of it, you'll realize that he's using an app, he's using modern technology, he's using the methods of what would actually be the methods of the NSA. So hang on a second, it very much looks like, right? This is another announcement, okay? But what you will see in this episode is the combination of hacking tools, of highly sophisticated hacking tools. And I think he gets hold of the Bank of England and the crown jewels and blah, 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 by just pressing icons on an app. Now, you could, in principle, when you have the whole NSA at your service, devise something like that and take control of the country. I think the Crown Corporation has done it in the past, right? But that's it again. It will not be the Windsor family sitting here. It will be organized crime, a criminal mastermind. Okay. So again, look at this. This came out of the BBC. And I told you, you know, I have been telling you for a long time, the BBC is MI7. And when you put these three independent sources next to each other, right, a BBC series, the adverts for Royal Ascot, and this series, The Windsors, which I have to remind myself who actually made that series. Let's go back. Let's see. Here's the cast, the storyline, the details. So The Windsors was released 6th of May 2016. Okay. What does it say about the director or anything more? I can't find it. You can watch it. You can look it up yourself, and you can dig around, you know, who actually came up with this. But I don't find it funny at all. I really don't. And I just watched it with horror. And there's one episode where there's anarchy in the United Kingdom. And I think if I remember correctly, it turns out to be a dream. But, you know, somebody banged their head or passed out from, you know, mulled wine, but, or port wine. But really, this whole thing about anarchy in the UK, that's exactly what this targeting program is designed to achieve. It's a form of civil war where one part of the population is being weaponized against the other, right? Now, it is for this reason that is exactly what this targeting program tries to bring about. It's trying to create havoc in the United Kingdom. And by the way, it's mirrored in the Netherlands and in Denmark and so on and so on. And if I had to guess, I would say that the royal families are being taken for a ride. I think all these queens and kings are told by the Crown Corporation, hey, you know, if you're in it, look, this is just a bit of human ritual sacrifice, and we've done it so many times, and oh, you will end up, I don't know, in a spaceship going into eternal nirvana, or the Crown Corporation will give you whatever, you know, a total mind fuck with synthetic telepathy, most likely, because that's what they're good at, you know. But in real terms, in the real world, the entire Western world will end up being eaten by the snake, so it goes down, right? It will become a shithole. And every single place that was ever asset stripped by the Crown Corporation ended up a fucking misery, right? Post-Nazi Germany, post-communist Russia, post-communist China, post-communist this and that, right? Post-revolutionary this and that, and so on, right? It always goes downhill. So I'm now working on this, you know, snake up the staircase problem of how can we all go to more wealth. Now, there are precedents for this. I think it was actually Max Kaiser, one of the financial commentators, who pointed out that criminal enterprises have been turned honest in the past, right? Because what you do is you have a hypercharged crime business, and the only difference between organized crime and a normal business, I mean, apart from the threats and the killing, is just that organized crime isn't regulated and it's not taxed. But for the little investment of tax, you turn your enterprise into an honest enterprise, and suddenly it becomes an ecosystem where good people can strive, not just psychopaths. And remember, psychopaths are great for conquest, but they're not really that good at building things, you know, or at least not building good things. So this is what we're working on. Now, tomorrow is very important for everybody. Funnily enough, tomorrow is important for the royal families because it is one way to pull the handbrake, right, and do a handbrake turn and take the entire system out of genocide into real prosperity, right? And it's also, funnily enough, very important for the Crown Corporation because it will undergo a reorg, a corporation management restructuring and reorganization that will turn it into an actually profitable business that goes somewhere, you know, because I mean, the Crown Corporation is not going to go away within the next 2 years, is it? It's just too big. It will be chopped down, but it will take a long time, right? But there is no reason to fear this process or to, you know, to fight it, because the best mathematician, you know, of this generation and a couple of others said that this phase transition is occurring. It is inherent in the system that this phase transition comes about. So you might as well just ride the wave, you know? So that's what I'm working on. And I just wanted to make this clear because when I get these batshit crazy emails, I despair. I really feel like people still didn't get the memo, okay? And well, not much I can do about that, but I hope this helps. So I'm going to go back because I've got a fuckload to do still. And I hope that the machine gunning, you know, tones down a bit. Really, really nice if some royals made some phone calls and, you know, pulled these people back who are literally next door, you know, but I probably can't hope for that. So anyway, I'll be continuing on this path, you know, towards Kano efficiency. And if you want to join me, then let's start. If you're one of the good people, right, you probably thought, why the hell am I talking about cartel members and increasing profits for the royal family and these cartel people? Is she one of them? No, I'm not one of them, but we have to find a solution where everybody ends up, you know, in a better, end up in this messy civil war that will get us nowhere but the medieval ages. Okay. Now, the thing is that if you're in the new model and you are the poorest person on planet Earth, you would be considered to be in the tail of the snake, maybe, like the arse end, maybe, right? Now, I'm not saying this is a value judgment. This is the Crown Corporation's organization. Okay. In the tail of the snake, in the old model, you're going to be eaten first. Right? Makes sense. Now, if you are in the post-new world order, it doesn't matter where you are in the snake's, you know, physique there. If you're in the head or in the tail, you're both going up at the same rate, right? Maybe with a bit of time delay. So you will end up, you know, in 20 years time where the head of the snake is today in terms of wealth and prosperity and progress and so on. Okay, but we can still live with that, right? The point is you are going up, right? Together with the snake, as opposed to just falling prey to it. Okay. Targeting is a crucial step because targeting destroys the most intelligent people. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. You can look at all the people who died, right? Aaron Schwartz was murdered, John Nash was murdered, Gareth Williams was murdered by MI6, right? That was the dumbest thing to do. Yet they did it. Really, I mean, where could we be now if we had those three people? Where could we be if we had those three, being the smartest they can be, right? This is a model where you can have, right, in a horse-drawn carriage, and the better the horses, the faster you travel, right? If you prefer to eat your horses, you ain't going nowhere, right? So here we are. Okay, so I hope I made this clear now. Now I'm going to terminate the broadcast. You know where to be tomorrow, you know how to get there, and you know why you will be there tomorrow, and you know where we want to go. So please help me, right? And that's it from me. And the other thing is, let's also remember all the people who have already been killed, who have been severely maimed, all the disabled people who were genocided in the United Kingdom just the last couple of years as a, part of austerity. And this, what we're doing tomorrow, no matter how much shit the courts of so-called justice throw at us tomorrow, whatever we're doing tomorrow to survive, right? To survive this is, what we're doing for these people as well, So remember the fallen and never forget them. And remember that we are also working for them. We are continuing their work. And when you consider how many people have been horrifically tortured to death, like children in military bunkers, tortured to death by MI6 and the military and the Crown Corporation, when you consider how many disabled people froze to death or starved to death or killed themselves out of despair because their money and their lifeline was withdrawn in most callous and psychopathic way, right? I mean, compared to that, the shit that they throw at us is pissing nothing, right? It's just not worth the bother. So tomorrow I'm going to go into court and do my best. I am exhausted. I'm tortured. I'm massively delayed in my preparations. Everything is bottom up, but doesn't matter because any step we take towards the saner world, back to the rule of law, will be, worth gold in a few years. Seriously, the country that gets back to sanity quickest will be the most prosperous country. I can predict that, So that's enough from me. Thank you so much for listening, and hope to see you tomorrow. And if I don't see you tomorrow, I hope you support me wherever you are and whoever you are. Bye for now.